play 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover, and I was going to hit my floor tom, but my mouse would have exploded because I know I would have hit it.
That was 40 Ways to Leave Your Lover.
That was one way to play the snare drum. That's all. That
was one way to leave your lover.
Right.
That was the original.
Everybody, who's it? We have no idea what we're doing today because our guest, unfortunately, Sibby, got sick. I don't even know who's supposed to be talking right now. Is that me or is that you?
I think it's always you, Bart.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Drummers Education Connection. I am your professional host, Bart Robley, and I am here with three of the greatest drummers on the planet. My friend in Tucson, Arizona, wearing the Fred Rock Fisher hat, Mr. Chip Ritter. Up in the upper left-hand corner of our Brady Bunch show today is Jeremy Steincolor. He lives up in the Bay Area, and he is just a fantastic human being. And he knows a great restaurant in Berkeley if you want a chicken sandwich. And my friend Rick Stojak down in San Diego, also drinking his 3-peckered Billy Goat, which I happen to have some here too in my green cup, down in San Diego area. And if you go down to San Diego, you take a drum lesson, and Rick will take you out to the finest Mexican food in downtown San Diego because I know it's there. How's everybody doing today? Welcome to Drummers Education Connection. And I'm just blah, blah, blah.
Well, our show today is question mark.
Yeah.
This is going to be fantastic, I can tell.
It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have people chime in with their questions and their ideas. Unfortunately, Sibby had to cancel. He's sick today, and it was kind of a last-minute thing. So we decided that we're literally going to go on and wing it today. So this is going to be a lot of fun. All three of us have different ideas, and so we're going to talk about a few things. Before we do that, though, 4 things. I don't know what I'm saying. We've got keep the lights on. You can donate to us on Patreon. That would be a fantastic thing, and we would love it. That will help pay for our website hosting and all that sort of good stuff. And then we have good things. Good things is something that each one of us has going on in our lives outside of drumming or inside of drumming. And so good things. So I'm going to throw it down to San Diego, but up to Rick Stojak. Rick, what's happening, buddy?
Oh, Bart, you did such a great job. This show is kind of like, we've got a gig and the singer didn't show.
It happens.
Sometimes those are the best gigs ever.
Yeah,
they really are.
One of my bands got started on a gig like that.
That's so cool.
Nice.
Yeah, because can I jump in for just a quick sec?
Sure, go for it.
So this band I have called Mophone, which is a trio of 2 saxophones and drums. That's it. Alto sax, baritone sax, and drums. That's the trio. It was supposed to be a gig with a bass player, and this is like 20 years ago. Bass player didn't show up to the gig, so it was just me and a sax player, and we're playing like, I guess let's play some duos and jazz gig. And so we play some tunes and hit the first break, and like, do we know anybody who lives nearby who might want to come and just play with us, keep it loose? And we're like, well, I know this other guy is a sax player. Oh, sure, give him a call. So he comes down, and he's available. The 3 of us play 2 saxes and drums. We had so much fun. And people loved it. It was kind of irreverent, like no expectations about what it's supposed to be. But we decided to do it again on purpose this time, and then again, and then again. And this band ended up playing at the Monterey Jazz Festival 3 times, San Francisco Jazz Festival 12 times. No Grammys in our collection, but like it was a very successful band, and all because someone didn't show up to the gig one night.
Not only do you not have a singer, you don't have a singer with a tambourine. You're doing great.
Yeah, it was here. I'm gonna put the link.
Chip just knows how to turn lemons into lemonade, doesn't he? Anytime you got a singer with a tambourine, man.
Yeah, no tambourines, no singers, and no bass players, no keyboard players, no guitar players, none of that.
No problems.
No problems.
Still my beating heart.
Check it out. It's pretty fun. Yeah, I threw the link up there, you guys. It's
there you go. Hit the link.
Fun music. It's fun music.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. So Rick, what's happening good for you in San Diego, buddy?
We couldn't be doing this show without all of our listeners and all of our backers. So we appreciate you. And so if you are watching, we're sorry we don't have Sibby from Sky Gel today. But we'll talk a little bit about Sky Gel here as we go. But this is your show, folks. So you can ask us any questions on Facebook or on the YouTube live. And so, and we'll answer anything that you'd like. So you could kind of look at this like as a free drum lesson too. So, and then if you have any topics that you'd like to have us cover for next year, let us know. Put that in the notes because we're happy to do it. So good things. Julie and I had the best date downtown San Diego. We went to see Big Bad Voodoo Daddy's Christmas.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, these guys have been going for over 30 years. It's pretty much the original lineup. It reminds me of the Sam Morrison band, Bart, how we've all been working together. And each member of that band was just a cold-blooded killer on their instrument.
Oh,
Nice.
so cool.
The swing was so good. I mean, the vibe was so good. And they did some of their old classic songs, just enough peppered in with their Christmas songs too. And man, they brought down the house. So
Nice.
yeah, downtown San Diego was really fun too. So it was a great day. And then I'm getting a lot of great follow-up after PASIC, Percussive Art Society International Conference, that we went to a few weeks ago. Met a lot of drum teachers there, and there's
Don't forget, if you're listening, don't forget to go back and check out that episode of the PASIC debrief.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, Rick.
No, that's right. So Chip, what's going on good for you, buddy?
Good for me, man. I got two good things I wanted to share with you guys. Number one is I have smiley faces. These smiley face stickers, they stick on your shirt or on your coffee cup, all over the place, and everybody loves them. I took them into a meeting I was at earlier today, handed a roll out of them out, and everybody was walking out of the room with a smiley face on them. It was amazing and a good thing. It was just a good thing. How do you not like a smiley face? Right. And then I have my favorite shirt on today. I just got this KISS t-shirt. It's got the Destroyer logo on the logo on it and Destroyer, and I'm just super happy about my t-shirt and my smiley faces. I'll be happy to mail you guys some smiley faces if you want.
I would love some smiley faces. Can I see your shirt again?
KISS Destroyer with a USA logo.
I was at that concert on Halloween night at
Destroyer?
Dodger Stadium. I got on the reunion tour, on the Psycho Circus tour.
Okay.
And I was on at Dodger Stadium, and I got that same shirt. The only difference is they were all wearing. It was that same the Destroyer thing with the USA KISS logo, but they were wearing Dodgers uniforms.
Oh wow, that's kind of cool.
That's what I thought it was. Yeah.
That's really cool. Anyway, that's my good thing. How about you, Jeremy? What's good, man?
My wife and I just celebrated our anniversary last week. That was exciting.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, buddy.
Yeah, 19 years. And Evan's coming home in a couple of weeks from school, so we're excited to see him. And he and I have a couple of shows lined up together, so very excited to play with him again. That's always a real treat for me. And had a nice Thanksgiving. Have a lot to be thankful for, even though there's all kinds of messed up things going on in the world. Things are pretty good for me. So I'm fortunate and happy, and happy to be on deck, man. What a great thing the deck has been. Is this going to be our third Christmas special? Is that right?
I think this is our fourth Christmas special.
Fourth.
This is our fourth one.
This is episode 189.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're coming up on 200 episodes. Wow, that's insane.
It's incredible, right? It's phenomenal.
4 years.
It's a good thing.
Yeah. What a cool thing. Just happy to be a part of it. Just before we got on today, I was asking Bart about in-ear monitors because I don't have any. And we're about to. I'm not going to let this cat quite out of the bag, but we got some great sponsorship stuff happening that we were able to hook up during PASIC. And some of our new sponsors are going to be coming on the show to talk about their products and how we're going to connect with them. And this is new territory for me. And I learned in 15 minutes, I learned an hour's worth of stuff from Bart, 2 hours worth of stuff about in-ear monitors. And that was cool, man. I love that we continue to educate each other too, in addition to educating the community.
I think that my grandfather always used to say, if you get up and you don't learn something that day, you've wasted a day. And I think that is one of the things that we've tried to do on deck is pass on the stuff that we know, but at the same time learn from the drumming community as well, because I know I've learned a lot from the show.
My grandfather used to say, "Hey, what are you doing in the bathroom that long?"
Yeah, my grandfather used to say, "Shut up and give me a beer, you little bastard."
I got one that's going to trump all use.
Uh-oh.
Let's hear it.
I'm going to drop this bomb, and we're going to talk about it on another episode. My grandfather did time on Alcatraz.
Shut
Whoa.
the hell up.
Oh,
True story.
You win.
True
You
story.
win.
Dude, I am so freaking intrigued by that.
We're going to save that for another time.
Oh my God, that's incredible. I have to hear this.
Fred Fisher just posted the wow face.
I know, it's crazy story.
Did he know Al Capone?
I was going to ask if he knew Clint Eastwood.
I don't think Clint Eastwood did time there.
Yeah, but he did that movie.
Yeah,
well, I know he did, but actually,
it was closed.
and also, you know what? Clint Eastwood was Dirty Harry, which took place in San Francisco. So if Jeremy's grandfather got arrested by Dirty Harry, how badass would that be?
No, it wasn't that. Dirty Harry, yeah, it was before Dirty Harry, I think. Anyway, we'll save that for another episode.
Punk.
By the way, Fred Fisher, I started watching Fred's show, Coffee with Fred, this morning.
Fred's show rocks.
So fun. Fred always tells you what day, National Pancake Day or whatever.
Okay.
And
so what's today?
Today, he said it was Ozzy Osbourne's birthday.
Okay.
He said, sorry, he forgot to make Ozzy a cake. Pretty damn funny. Fred was good.
If he would have made an Ozzy a cake, Sharon would have fired him. You know,
he should have made a bat cake so he could eat the head.
Right.
Exactly.
That too.
Exactly.
You know
okay, so.
Oh wait, Bart, did we do your good things yet? Sorry.
Oh no, you know what? We didn't. My good. You know what? Same thing. I had a fantastic Thanksgiving. We went over to some neighbor's house, and enjoyed a Thanksgiving there. And Leah made the turkey, and it was fantastic. Leah has been making the turkey for many years, and the last couple of years she didn't because we went over to the neighbor's house. Well, last year she didn't. This year she did it again, and oh man, it literally every time she cooks a turkey, it looks like something in a movie. It's perfect. I don't know how she does it. And so we had a real nice time with that. And so that was great. And leaving on Thursday for the last run with the Sam Morrison Band for the year. So we've got a couple of shows, and then we're kind of done for the year, which is bittersweet. I love my band. I've been in it for so long and stuff, but it's kind of nice too to just know that at least for a few weeks I'm just going to be here, and I don't have to pack a bag or unpack a bag or whatever. I'm going to just be here at the house, and it's going to be great. So I'm looking forward to just some downtime. It's going to be nice.
Cool. Right on.
Love this time of year. So today's show, we would be remiss if we didn't bring this up. Sibby from Sky Gels, the deck has been we've been endorsing Sky Gel for a while, and they've just been fantastic to us. They're really cool. They give us all kinds of gear, and whoops, there's my bass drum camera. I'm on the wrong camera. So here's my Sky Gel thing. I got some little clear ones here.
All right, Bart, go ahead and put 2 of those on the snare.
Okay, well, here's what we're going to do, and I purposely don't have one on my snare drum.
You know, I noticed that when you played the intro, that your snare drum was very ringy.
Well, I did that on purpose for this specific demonstration, guys. I'm a professional. Right, here we go. I know what I'm doing.
Sky Gels with Bart Robley.
Sky Gels with Bart Robley. Hey, look, if we were asking somebody how to spell something, we'd be talking to Jeremy, okay? So very ringy, very open. Now, here's the thing. Sky Gels has kind of pulled me out of the fire a lot. I have this in this little gray case that I carry around with me all the time. These are clear, so they don't show up on camera real well. So again, this drum is wide open and very ringy. If I put a medium-sized one on there, you know?
Wow, what a difference.
Clean.
What a huge difference. And then if I put a large, and that's kind of the medium-sized one. And this is the thing that I like about the Sky Gels is, okay, now listen to how dead it is.
Wow.
Real big difference.
Huge.
I like
And
that.
then I also like this one because I do now, again, this drum's wide open for the purpose of the show. But I do have my drums. Here's just a small one. Still got a little bit of ring to it. That's what I would play live right there. We just heard. I'm just going to leave that there.
Yeah.
That's what I would use live. I've been in a rock band. I've been in the Sam Morrison band for 25 years, but I tune my drums very open and very much like a jazz drummer would. As a matter of fact, Jeremy and I had this conversation at the last Deck Day. I got to play his beautiful Brooks kit when I sat in with the band, and man, that drum set just sang, man. I mean, oh my God, he had aquarium monitored vintage on there, and they just sounded great. And so we got to talking about tuning and what kind of heads, and I said, well, I just use a single ply coated on everything, and every once in a while on this snare drum, that's a Focus X. The reason that this drum is so ringy is because it's a free floating Gretsch snare drum, and it's kind of designed to be ringy. Usually I play metal snare drums, whether it be a brass snare drum, chrome over steel, a copper drum, whatever. And I like them to sing at me. I really like them to ring. But as most of us know, a metal drum is going to ring a lot more than a wood drum. It's just going to have a lot more liveliness to it, if that's even a way to describe it. And I like that, but sometimes it's too much. So what I do is I just put a small Sky Gel on there, and it does the trick. Still got a little bit of the ring in there, but man, it sounds really good. I play a lot of backline kits. We fly into a lot of gigs, and I never know what I'm going to get. Sometimes I get exactly what I ask for, and I'm a happy guy. Sometimes not so much. And I have to really tweak the drum in. And I know with the Sky Gels, if I, have a drum that's just not happening, I can get it to feel good, and I can try different sizes of Sky Gels on there to get it to sound like I like and make it through the show. And so thank you to Sibby. We're sorry you're not feeling well. And if you're watching and you see this, and we hope to have you back on later to talk about the product and interview you about your career and stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But thanks for backing our play, man. We really appreciate it. So anyway, I want to start there just because he was going to be our guest, and we're just kind of letting the show take its natural course. I'm going to talk about everything.
Check this out. Check this out, guys. I got a Sky Gel here. These are neon green Sky Gels. And what's really funny is I have a green screen behind me, so now they're gone.
That's cool.
They're gone.
Hey guys, Fred,
they have. They actually have. Sibby's got the kick sticker, so this is a giant Sky Gel for your kick drum. So nice. I like you guys like a nice open tone drum, especially on my kick. I like a nice round note, and I'm not like I don't put a pillow in there, but sometimes you do get a little overtone. So I like to have. I've got one of these guys. I love them on my kicks, and there's a million different colors available in the Sky Gels too. They have clear ones, which are great. So if you don't want a look of a little like what's that contraption, you can do that. They have white ones, so if you have coated white heads, they'll just blend in. They have black ones for black heads, or if you just want that look. So, and then I like part you were talking about it, the little tiny Sky Gels, rather than having to take these guys.
Do they have red ones, red heads? Sorry.
They do. They do.
By the way, do not eat a Sky Gel. It looks like a gummy. These will not make you feel mellow.
Dude, I ate one once and I was baked for a week.
Oh God, you guys. All right.
Sorry.
All right.
All right. So let's get the show on the road, Jeremy.
So Fred chimed in with a great comment question, and so I thought we could start with here. He says he had a great discussion with Rick on motivating students. He'd like to hear what everyone thinks about motivating students, and then he asks me, what's the best Aquarian snare head for brushes? Let me answer that one real quick because that's an easy one for me. I play a texture coated on the snare Aquarian, and I find that that's great for everything, for sticks, for brushes, for rods. I have in the past also used a Jack DeJohnette head, and I will say that the Jack DeJohnette head has got this thicker, more coarse coating on it that lasts a long time, and it's really, really good for playing brushes if that's what you're doing most of the time, or if you have a snare that's a dedicated snare for just playing brushes. The Jack DeJohnette head is the bomb. Really hot, really, really nice brush sound. I will say that the texture coated takes a minute to kind of break in on the brushes. It's very hot at first, but as you play it a little bit, it kind of mellows out. Whereas the Jack DeJohnette head kind of stays hot the whole time.
Jeremy, have you tried the Aquarian Modern Vintage heads?
I have. I do. I use Modern Vintage on my toms and actually on my 18-inch kick. I've gone Modern Vintage 1 and Modern Vintage 2. Right now I've got Modern Vintage 2 on them. But I haven't used them on the snare.
I love them on the snare.
Yeah, Modern Vintage on the snare. Nice. Yeah.
I use a Modern Vintage 2 on my snare. And
oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah. That'd be something I'd like to check out. Well, and we'll be back down at Aquarian in our April for our deck day. So that'll be a good opportunity to do lots of head talk and head demonstration stuff. So, and head experiments.
Hey, are you guys cool if I put a link to the Jack DeJohnette Aquarian drum heads in the chat there?
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're black, by the way. The DeJohnette head.
They're black.
And look, I just pulled out a lucky. I pulled out a lucky winner right here. It says Fred Fisher. If that's your name, you're invited to Deck Day.
Everyone's invited to Deck Day.
Everybody's invited to Deck Day. We would love to see you.
If you want to make a trip out to California, we'd love to hang with you at in SoCal at the what do you call at the Aquarian warehouse there in April. All right, so motivating students. Oops, I got the wrong one. Sorry, I was trying
Fred and I chatted quite a while about that.
Oh, good.
It was so helpful to share knowledge.
Chip, what are your thoughts about motivating students?
My thoughts on motivating students have evolved since I started teaching over the years. I used to have a fixed curriculum that I ran everybody through only because I didn't know any better. And as I've grown as a drummer and a teacher, I've come to get more, customized per student as far as all the things that we go through. And when it comes to motivating them, sometimes, everybody's got those students that come in and you can tell by the first note that they haven't practiced or looked at their book in a week, and then that feeling makes me like, oh, okay. So trying to get them, it's good to motivate a student. So trying to get them motivated usually boils down to, for me, finding the spark, finding this one thing about their playing. Maybe it's a song they like, maybe it's something that they just do on the drums naturally that they enjoy doing, but finding something that they like and that I can relate to them with, and then talking about that, getting them excited and talking and answering questions, asking them good questions is really how I start to really get to motivating students. That's how I feel.
Nice, Chip. I like that.
Yeah. I have a student right now, and she's been playing for about a year, maybe a year and a half, and she's wanting to start talking about jazz and swing. So, we start off ding, dong, and then I just try to have her do different variations of eighth notes on the snare drum and do the same thing on the kick drum. We're working out of syncopation. We're working out of the Art of Bop, John Riley's book. And sometimes I found that I've said this a lot on the show and I've written about it. I think motivation and inspiration can be a bit fickle because we get motivated and we get inspired and then we try to do something and we can't do it. It's hard. And so you have to rely then on determination and really get over that hump to motivate yourself. So what I do is I talk about that, and I'm honest with students, especially if I know that this one subject matter, maybe just this one phrase, man, this one's going to be a tough one. It's hard for everybody. And I nurture them through it, and I always make sure that we end the lesson on a high note, right? So let's say it's just that what I just played. So, and they're going for like 20 minutes. I go, okay, just one time, one, and just stop. Okay, you did it. You've proven to yourself that you can do this. You can do it. Now, just do it over and over and over again, and you'll get it. So I find that that helps motivate them. And then what I do with this particular student yesterday, I tap into my personal resources of experiences. And I say, here's what I want you to do. Okay, you're listening to this. So or you're working on jazz. So I want you to listen. And I always point them to the first thing. We've talked about this a lot. I go, listen to Miles Davis, Kind of Blue. Learn to play along and play that swing pattern with Freddie the Freeloader. Okay, learn to just play along with that. You know, Jimmy Cobb, you can really kind of work on your feel with that. You can work on feathering the kick drum. You can work on all this stuff and just play along with it. But then I say, now, also, I want you to listen to Diana Krall, Girl in the Other Room, because it has two amazing drummers on it. It has Jeff Hamilton on it, and it has one Peter Erskine. And last week we were at PASIC, and Jeremy and we all got to see Peter Erskine. We went to his clinic, and it was so musical, and it was great. And I show him the handout, and then Jeremy got his picture with Peter Erskine. And so I think that motivates students, because they're now seeing that, wow, you're kind of, I don't want to say hobnobbing, but I'm learning from those guys. I'm going to a clinic with Peter Erskine, and me and my buddies from PASIC, we're all hanging out, and we're learning too. And I think that motivates students. I think that's something that fires them up. You know, you're not just sitting around talking about it, you're doing it.
Rick, what about you?
I think another time. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Chip.
Yeah, Rick.
Go ahead.
I was just going to bust in every now and then when I see a student's look and his eyes glaze over and he's just kind of like tuning out because he's just not into what we're doing. Every now and then I'll just start busting out on the drums for about a minute, just really tearing it up, and then looking at the look on his face, and it's like he wakes up and we're back to the mission.
Nice. No, I would wake up if Chip.
Go ahead, Rick.
I would.
Well, you know, I've written my curriculum, the How to Build a Drum Groove series, and it's really exciting. It's beginning to catch fire here. And a lot of drummers, teachers are starting to use this. And if you've watched the show, you've probably heard too much about this series. But what I do is I use music to get people motivated. They don't have to be playing at this really fancy level to enjoy it. Most drummers, probably 95% of drummers, are hobbyists. And so many drum teachers teach these 95% as if they want to be professionals.
Good point.
And alienate these students and intimidate them and throw heavy music at them. Well, what I do is I throw simple music at them, or at least music that has a steady beat. So you have kick, snare, there it is on the first beat, and then I've got a list of songs that use that beat from start to finish. So you can learn one beat and then you start playing along to music. So this I found to just motivate. It motivates students incredibly because they're like, wow, look, I'm already playing drums, you know, and then we can work on technique that way. You know, I'm not saying don't work tech, you know, yeah, you want to work on your drum pad and you want to work rudiments, you want to do all of that stuff. But this gets people playing and reading, and it helps develop their tempo. And, you know, it's a 4-book curriculum that I've written, and each book has near 400 songs. So we're having a lot of fun now with the 4th book. It's all triplet based. So, you know, a lot of drummers think, oh, I'm going to play a shuffle. They play a shuffle for 5 minutes and they think they've got a shuffle down. Well, you know, I've got like 50 songs with shuffles that it's a steady beat and various beats. So you can understand that there's a million different kinds of shuffles. So it can be really interesting and musical. And so that system's really, really working out. And yeah, check in with me if you want, if you're a teacher and you want to talk about using that curriculum. And all the songs are up on my YouTube channel also.
I've had things happen where I'm like, the other day I was like, Rick, what was that 6-stroke roll thing that Jeremy was showing us, right? where was that written? I know it's in one of your books. Oh, it's in this book. Oh, okay, great. And I go get and Rick's books are amazing. And I have to say, all four of us are authors.
Right.
And so take that for what it's worth. I mean,
Right.
all four of us are authors, and I can't speak highly enough about Rick's Rick's book series. I mean, and I love your point that you alienate some people if
Right.
you, because you're right, not everybody wants to be a professional drummer, right?
Right.
So, yeah,
and
that's a great point.
here too is let's just say you have, well, if you say, hey, I don't have time to practice, you might be somewhere where you could just listen to the songs. You could open up the book. You don't have to be playing the beat. You could listen to all the songs listed that use that beat, and you could try to find one and count it and listen for things that that Jeremy talks about in his clinics, the volume difference between each instrument, right? Like, oh, listen to that song. That is the same beat on paper as this other song, but this beat has a louder kick.
Right.
So you start practicing that kind of thing, and so you could get a mental rehearsal.
Awareness. Yeah. Right.
Awareness, yeah, and listening and developing listening skills.
Yeah.
How about you, Jeremy? What do you do to motivate a student?
Well, if you gave me one word that I had to come up with that was the most important for helping motivate students and keep them motivated, I think that word is enthusiasm. So, I've heard stories and students go to a teacher and they're just mailing it in and they're not very enthusiastic, or they don't seem to care. And that's part of what the job is to care. And I mean, I don't care just for the show of it. I care because I actually do care, and I love helping my students get better, and it makes me excited, and I enjoy it, and I get so much out of it when they progress. So, I think it's really motivating for students to want to please a teacher who's really excited and invested in their progress. So that's one important piece of the puzzle, because you can have all the other things, the pedagogical method and a great plan, but if you're not enthusiastic about working with them, I think they're going to be missing out on.
Yeah, it's got to be fun. Yeah,
you're right. The other piece, and this kind of dovetails with what Rick was saying, is that I think it's really important to, and also with what you said, Chip, about tailoring your lessons for each student. Even if you have a program, like it's really important that students have something to work on that is challenging, but that they can succeed with.
Yeah.
Imagine the alternative scenarios where you give them something that's too hard, and it's going to take them a month to get this phrase or to groove or a song. Boy, is that disheartening, and frustrating. Like, oh man, I'm never going to get there. Screw it. This is too much. It's too hard. I'm no good. Right. We've experienced that before. So if you give them something that's not at the appropriate level, that's a problem. And then on the other hand, if you don't give them something that's challenging enough, if everything's too easy, I don't have to really work at this. I can mail it in. This is kind of boring. I already know how to do all this. They start thinking like they know too much, and it's too easy. They start coasting. So, that's part of your job as a teacher, is to pay attention and to know what is the right thing to work on at the right time for the student to help them achieve their goals, or to move them along your program. That they've got to be able to succeed with it. If they can't experience success, they're not going to be into it.
I'd like to add to that a little bit, because I think you really nailed it there when you said they've got to be challenged. I think, if students are coming in and there's that fine line, you don't want to hammer them and, oh, I can't play this. They want to see success relatively fast, and they want to have fun. But I also tell every one of my students at the end of the lesson, I want you to feel challenged. I want you to walk away going, oh my God, I can't do this right now. I can do it, but I can't do it great. And you have to go home and work on it, because I have a couple of students that they come right out and they're like, hey, look, this is when I practice. This is a hobby for me, and I just want to have fun with it. But a lot of my students that do want to grow, if they're coming in and just, the two of you are playing drums together, you're paying somebody to hang out and play drums with them. They don't feel challenged. And so I definitely think a student needs to feel challenged at the end of the lesson. I know that every time I walk away from a lesson and I kind of feel like I got steamrolled a little bit, it's like, okay, I need to go home and practice this.
Right.
But
there's a fine line there, because about getting steamrolled. Like, I had a student come to me who was taking a few lessons with this other guy, and I knew he wasn't really an established teacher, but he's a really good local player. And she left feeling like he would play for 45 minutes out of the lesson. And
that's what I mean. No.
I know that's not what you're saying. Of course, right.
Yeah.
But he maybe was thinking, oh, I'm going to inspire her by showing her this is, if you work, and hard, you can get like this. But she walked away with nothing from it, Like, what am I supposed to work on? How am I supposed to work on it? And she came to me, and in the first lesson, I got her dialed in, and she was like, "Oh my God, this is completely different experience from the other lessons I was taking." I was like, "Well, you've come to the right place."
All about finding that balance between inspiring someone and challenging them.
Yeah.
And that might change lesson to lesson.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, definitely. I think that's what we all agree on. That if you try to stick to a verbatim curriculum, you're not going to work. I mean, you have to. I mean, you've got to be as flexible as a noodle. I mean, you have to be. I mean, how many times does a student come to you and you're like, okay, I have this planned out for the lesson, but they go over here.
Right.
Well, I've got a whole library of stuff here that I'll try to meet you over there. And let's make this happen.
What are your thoughts on those fear, intimidation, whiplash style teachers?
I don't get down with that. I don't like that at all.
I don't like that at all either. I've heard stories, and I'm not going to say any names, but of really famous drum teachers that, legendary drum teachers that, like, you go in and you sit down and they'll say, okay, well, you prepare for me today. And you sit down and you try to play it. And I don't care who you are. I mean, I go and take a drum lesson and, it's like, okay, I got to play good in front of the teacher. I mean, we all get that, right? We all get that little, oh, okay, well, Jeremy's in the room. I got to play good, So there's a few times where you're kind of surfing on one foot. And anyway, these teachers would be like, okay, you know what? Come back when you're ready to play for me. And you pay for that lesson. Yeah. It's supposed to be an hour lesson, but you play for 2 minutes and they kick you out and you walk away with your tail between your legs. Well, that is not inspirational. That's
right. It's defeating, right? It's
totally defeating.
Yeah. I think that there's an old school mentality that sometimes people run into, but it was truer among the older generation of teachers. And I think for a lot of them, it's because that's the way that they learned. Yeah. They got their ass handed to them by their teachers who told them they didn't know anything, and that motivated them, and to work harder and seek their approval and get into the club and learn the stuff. And, I know that can work for some people. And sometimes some people do need a little bit of tougher love to get motivated. But in general, and I'll share a story about that I have experience with, but in general, that whole whiplash thing, that's just abuse is what it is, frankly.
Yeah.
And that has no role in helping, students succeed. You think about Dom Famularo, his whole thing was all about inspiring and supporting, and you do that with enthusiasm and positivity. It's that simple. That stuff is contagious, and it's motivating, and it makes all the right things happen, and you don't get people walking away feeling like they are awful. Life's hard enough but so just a real quick story. I had a student once who, talented kid, double bass, heavy metal, and never practiced, never had his books together, always forgot his books, ADHD kid, disorganized. And, we tried all these different strategies and keeping a practice log and, reminders set on his phone to get his books before he comes to his lesson. No matter what we tried, nothing worked. And after about 2 years, maybe, he studied with me, and he was a good player, but just struggled with organizational stuff and practicing habits. And he decided to take a break. And I said, I think that's a good idea. Let me know if you want to try lessons with a different teacher. I'll I'll give you a recommendation. He said, oh, that would be cool. So I ran into him again like 6 months later. And he said, oh man, I've been meaning to tell you, I had this great experience. I went to this other teacher you recommended, and the first lesson was okay. And I came back the second lesson and I was my usual self. I hadn't practiced and I didn't have my books. And he said, oh, I'm not willing to work with you. Like, if you want to work with me, you have to come and you have to practice every single week. Like, I won't teach you if you don't practice. And if you come in, you haven't practiced, that's it. And I know this is tougher love in an old school way. And he said it worked. Like, he came, he gave him one more chance, and he came back the next week, and he had his books and he practiced. And then from there on, he was cruising. And I was delighted to hear it. I was like, oh man, that's great. I'm so happy that you're able to find your groove with that. And, made me think, I should have tried that tough love approach with him when he was working with me. But, it doesn't always, most of the time that doesn't work. But I think for some people it can.
Yeah.
I think there's a line there, like you said, Jeremy, there you can be firm and kind. It's not impossible to do both. You know what I mean? And
Well
I've had a couple special needs students where the direction was not being applied in the right way, and it was coming from my confusion over what was going on with them and how they interpreted information. And what I did to solve that or get them motivated was have a long talk with their parents about their children, about what makes them tick and what works, what doesn't. You can get a lot of information from a parent to motivate a student.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it takes a village for sure.
Yes.
Bart,
it's about your logbook. You have a just a catalog that where you can record your time.
Oh yeah. So the logbook, it's the drum students' daily practice log, and it's you can buy it on Amazon. Chip is feverishly looking for it right now to put a link
right
up.
Now. That's what he's doing.
And it's a great thing that students can go in and literally, like, it's a logbook, like anything, the date, the time, what you practiced, what the BPM that you practiced at, when you started, when you stopped. It's very simple, and it's old school in this sense. I don't like to say, oh, it's old school and that's what works. What I've found for me, and what I found for a lot of my students, is, pen to paper and fill it out. There's a lot of times people, everybody has an app now for stuff. There's some great apps out there for logging your practice, and it's, calculates it for you and everything. And that's great. And if those work for you, fine. I do think, though, however, that the pen to paper for me works, and I found that it works great for my students. And yeah, it's a great tool. You can buy it on Amazon, and wonderful tool.
Yeah, I put the link up there in the chats. Let me chime in real quick on pen to paper. I'm a big fan of pen to paper. When it's out of sight, it's out of mind. And when you're drawing something, you remember the way it looks when you draw it. There's a connection that you can't get with digital from pen to paper. So I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think that it's something that we've kind of lost track of sometimes.
But we have. I just want to say we're also old. I'm a pen to paper guy too, but a lot of my students, they don't use pens.
Old. Yeah.
Everything's on a computer. So I understand that too.
I've thought that too. I mean, I get that, and you are right. I found, though, that I have one student in particular that Rick knows, as a matter of fact. Rick referred him to me, and he uses that logbook religiously. I mean, he's like, Mr. Bart, look. And he's a little guy, and he loves it. And I think everybody has a different, has different things. But yeah, I do. I think out of sight, out of mind. And, that's just what works for me, and a lot of my students who are young have used it.
That's good. I believe it as well.
So, Chip, you were going to say something?
with James.
I was just going to bring up the topic that James Harrison suggested. He said, how about you each talk about your biggest drumming moment in your life so far? For me, it was drum battles with Louis Bellson and Billy Cobham. Louis Bellson and Billy Cobham, amazing drummers.
I'm guessing James is referring to kind of a motivational moment or inspirational moment for you, for us.
Yes,
right?
yes. The biggest drumming inspirational moment.
Yeah.
I can tell you mine.
Let's hear it.
Go for it.
All right. My dad got these get 99 CDs for a penny magazine thing back in the day. And he showed me the magazine, and it had a picture of all the album covers of all the music you could get. And he said, pick one. I need one more. Pick one. And I looked at it and I saw the Kiss Destroyer cover. And so I just pointed to that and he said, that one, are you sure? And I said, yes, that's what I want. And at this time in my life, there were no drums. There was just maybe Sesame Street and Simon and Garfunkel albums from my mom. There was not really any drums in my life. Drums were not a thing. And I put that cassette tape in and I'm listening to it. And then came a song on the second side. It started off with the drums and it went and I was like, oh my Lord, what is that? And how do you do that? What is that sound? And it was just something about that beat that drove me in and got me into drumming. And I'm so glad I'm still a drummer today, 55 years later. It was awesome. That was my moment.
Nice. For me, I mean, I always thought drums were cool. I didn't know any boy who didn't think drums were cool back when I was a kid. But my father acted in and sang in local community theater productions, and I went to see one of his shows. I think it was like Guys and Dolls or something. And the pit was just my high school piano music teacher, who was a piano player, and a drummer. That was it. It was just a 2-person, low budget kind of thing. And I was watching the drummer the whole time. And it turned out he was a teacher at Juilliard. And so my parents, sort of noticed that I was focused on it. And so brought me up to talk to him after the show. And I started taking lessons with him. And that was the beginning for me. It was just seeing someone do it and make music happen. And yeah.
Off to the races.
Yep.
Mine was, my mom was a huge Elvis fan. I've told this story on deck before. Huge Elvis fan. And so much so that I thought that music was either Elvis or the out-of-tune piano at the back of the church. Because that's all that we had in our life that was music. And my mom always had Elvis playing. Always. And so I was 5 years old, and he came to town, played at the Denver Coliseum, and they took me to see Elvis. And I remember there was a comedian that came out and opened the show, and then his backup singers, the Sweet Inspirations, got up, and they did like Motown hits and the hits of the 70s, stuff that Elvis wasn't going to do. And I remember it was so loud. I was like, oh my God. And I finally got my ears unplugged. I'm like, okay, I'm listening to the concert. And then Elvis came on, and it was like a bomb went off. I don't know what had happened. I was just like, everybody around me is freaking out and screaming their heads off. And I'm like, what is going on? And it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen at that early stage in my life. And shortly after, so I was hooked that I knew I wanted something to do with music. I mean, as far back as I can remember. And then right after that, there was a show, Elvis Aloha from Hawaii. It's a very famous concert. There's a picture, lots of pictures of Elvis wearing this, eagle, red, white, and blue jumpsuit. He only wore it once. He only wore it there at that concert. And there was a camera right behind Ronnie Tutt's drum set. And he had this big blue Ludwig kit, and his hi-hat was going up and down. And every time I'd look at the hi-hat, I was like, is he doing that or is automatic? What is that? And I was hooked. And so that was my biggest moment. And that's what made me just go down this road of that's what I want to do. I want to play drums. I want to be in a band, And it always for me was about at first it was always about being the guy in the band, and it still is. I very much love being in a band, but I also love being a teacher. I have to throw that in as a caveat because I've been in lessons with drummers before where, like, if their favorite band called and needed a drummer at that moment, I'd be sitting in the room by myself. They'd have left, right? I mean, playing a gig, giving a lesson, there's not one that I put over the other one in importance. I love teaching. I love seeing people learn. I love being able to help people learn. So that's my moment.
Nice.
Rick, what about you?
It's awesome. And there's a link to the Aloha jumpsuit Elvis thing. You can buy one of those if you want.
I can buy one.
Christmas is coming up.
Rick,
dude, what would you guys do if I showed up on deck wearing that thing? That would be so badass.
I would think that's the best show we'd ever had.
By definition.
Rick, what was one of the biggest drumming moments in your life?
Well, that's a really, really tough question. I'll try to go quick. I had two older brothers, 5 and 7 years older than me. And so it was great because they were music guys. Of course, my brother went on to become a really brilliant guitarist and engineer and producer. And so they exposed me to all the great early rock stuff, like like early Zeppelin and early Queen and Hendrix and all of that music. And so I just was surrounded by that from a very young age. And I think it really motivated me. But then I was exposed to a lot of diversity in the types of music that I would hear. I grew up in Middletown, Connecticut, and the great legendary drummer Ed Blackwell, one of the, he played with Ornette Coleman, one of the greatest drummers in the world, probably one of the most underrated. Jeremy, I'm sure you know Ed Blackwell. Yeah. We'd hang out with Ed Blackwell, and he'd play constantly at Wesleyan University. I'd go see him, and he's like, "It's all in the wrist. It's all in the wrist. You got to keep super loose, and you like rubber." And then he'd like this swing that was so fast and this independence. So I had that, and then later on at 16, I joined my brother's band. We played punk, and I got to see the Ramones and the Dead Boys.
Oh wow! No way.
So I had this, and then I had that. And then I saw Buddy Rich live I was visiting in California and at Disneyland, and Buddy Rich band popped up in Tomorrowland from, underneath the Tomorrowland.
Yeah.
Like it's coming, it's like outer space. And the stage rises up, and there's
Yeah.
It was coming at all directions. But the biggest thing that I'd have to say is that I was an MTV kid. I watched so much MTV, and I'm like, that's what I want. I want to do that. Like when MTV first started, I was glued, and that motivated me. And I think that's really important now. Kids don't really see enough drummers on television. And so I think that the more that younger people watch live music and go out and see bands and watch videos of real, really, really great drummers play, that can really, really motivate you. So that's a great question. That's a whole
Very
show.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah, that is.
That was like 5 drumming moments.
Yeah.
That was several drumming
moments.
Moments.
Cool.
Well, real quick, I know we're coming close to the hour, and I've got to get off right at noon because I've got a lesson I got to jump into. But what do you guys think about, like, telling students to set goals? I know, Chip, you're a big goal guy. If you can make it in a minute or less, what's the biggest thing to set goals on? What do you tell people?
Jeremy?
Oh, I thought you were going to go. I think goals are really important. But it's also important to really be thoughtful about what the goals are, because you can just say, I want to get better. Okay, well, what does that mean? And how do you measure that? How do you know if you've even achieved your goal? But nor should it be something like, I want to be able to. Well, I mean, it can be. I want to be able to play, this beat at 200 BPM. Okay, well, that can be a goal, and you can work toward that. But like, usually it's more things like I want to get better at playing fills. I want to feel like I can improvise more and have a bigger vocabulary. Okay, that's something concrete that we can set a project on and work toward. A lot of times when students are beginners, they don't have specific goals. They just know they like to play the drums and they want to learn. So that's my job to help them get on a plan. But when students are more experienced and they come in, I say, what do you want? What are you hoping to get from me? How can I help? How can I be of service to you to help you achieve what you want? And part of that is figuring out what you want. So I think goal setting is important, and especially for more advanced students, to have a conversation with them. That's part of the first lesson is, figuring out where we want to get to and how we want to get there.
Rick, what about you? Great answer.
I like Jeremy's answer. I'm with all that you said, Jeremy, and I just think it really definitely has to be customized to the individual, and very often the goal simply can be, are you having fun? Are you growing? And even that can work for many people. But then, of course, if they have any kind of ambition, then we've got to set a little bit more refined goals for them.
Right.
But I think in general, a lot of people, the goal is, I just want to get into a band and play with a band.
Right.
So we shoot for that. And that's the lion's share, I think, of a lot of my students.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Nice.
Chip, what about you, bud?
Well, no, I think I'm going to agree with Rick and say Jeremy pretty much summed it up. I mean, you have a goal to do this at 200 BPMs. Yeah, that's kind of cool. And, that's a fixed position and something to shoot for. And I like that. And, of course, younger students need more help with goals when it comes to that. And so I usually make the goals smaller and bring them down towards where they're close to. And a goal has to be achievable enough to be reasonable, yet it's got to be far enough away to be cool enough to want to get to. So it's all really comes down to each student, I believe. And that's what I think.
I couldn't agree with that more. I think that everybody has different aspirations when they set out to play music, and I think everybody has different skill sets, and I think, as Rick said, make it customized. We've all said make it customized to each student, and make it doable and challenging. And I think that's important. Guys, I don't want to cut anybody off. We could go on all day because it's an open thing, but I do have to jump right into a lesson at noon. Thank you guys so much. We do wish Sibby well. We hope you feel better, buddy. And sorry you couldn't make the show today. And thanks, guys, hope you guys got something out of this show. And you're doing well. And have a great go out and get ready to deck the halls. Oh, real quick, and then I do have to go to my next student. We got the Deck the Halls show coming up. Everybody, tune in live. We haven't figured out how we're going to do it yet, but Gretsch is giving away a 5.5 by 14 chrome over steel snare drum. And I just talked to our friend Chris Brady this morning, and they're also, Aquarian is going to be giving away a full set of heads for your kids. We're going to have 2 grand prize winners for the Deck Day show, or for the Deck the Hall show. So please tune in. Jeremy, what's the date on that one?
Oh, shoot. The 17th of December.
The 17th of December. And next week, once again, we have no idea what we're talking about. We're going to be shooting from the hip, but we'll know later today. You guys have a great day.
See you, Bart.
See you guys.
Right. Play us out, Bart. Play us out, man.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.